Good morning, everybody. This is Buddy Webb here in Midland, Texas. I saw a news story on my Facebook this morning I thought was interesting. It reminded me of a story here. Contracts awarded for 40 miles of new walls on Texas border. And I seen that picture and it's like, oh, that looks familiar there. And so I tell this story. I have a short read here at the top of it, but since I put it in the comments with evidence, and I'll just do it that way instead of reading it like that. So we'll just start right here. And this is what I wrote above it, but I just separated it out. I said, the ex-wife and I got engaged at her late father's river house, which was on the Devil's River near the Mexico border, about a 3.5 hour drive from Midland. So you can see how come, that story above reminded me of that. And so I just went to Google Maps and put in Devil's River, and here's Midland, Odessa. You can see it there on the map, and you're just going directly south here. It's showing 3 hours and 44 minutes, and I don't think it took about 3.5 hours, because it depends where you're at on the river or whatever. But down here's the Devil's River. You can see it's right there by the Mexico border, because right here's the Rio Grande. Right here in this lake, here's Amistad. Devil's River flows into that. And beautiful. I mean, it's truly gorgeous country, but so that gives you an idea how close Midland is to the southern border of the United States. And of course that's been so political. A lot of talk about protecting our borders and trying to put a wall up. The president is, and so. My next comment here, I said and this was the ex-father-in-law, late ex-father-in-law, he had built a trolley that could carry a small boat and 6 people up and down the mountain from the home to the river. We went fishing and boating there. It seemed to be the perfect place if you're smuggling drugs, money, weapons, contraband, or humans between Mexico and the United States. I told FBI Agent Dominic that in 2012, that we drove all the way there and back to Midland without seeing a checkpoint and getting stopped. And this was after I'd survived the murder attempt in 2012. Miraculously had crawled down on my hands and knees and then started finding evidence of this murder attempt, and I contacted the FBI. But I want to show you there, this trolley on down that mountain. That's what I'm showing you, because see the home is up here, and you can see how that looks similar to that picture that was in the news right here. This is the Devil's River. We're way up here on top where the home is, and down here in the valley is the river there. It's beautiful. I mean, beautiful. And then he got this homemade trolley that goes up the mountain. He built that himself with his pipe here. And then running on top of that pipe, you could carry 6 people in this boat. I mean, that was literally, the boat went up the mountain with the people, and then it had like a garage door opener. It was remote control, and it would start it, and it would it'd pull you up the mountain or pull you down the mountain. You know what I mean? And so here, after you just put the boat in there at the dock, we could go up the river, and so that flows into Amistad. You're right over in Mexico, so you can see it here. It'd be, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, wow, all you'd have to do if you're on Mexico is load up a few tons of, meth or whatever, or if you're transporting illegal aliens or terrorists or money or drugs or guns or whatever, and you just boat this thing down. You just right up the dock, right up the river, boom, at the house. 3.5 hours, you're in Midland, Texas. Interstate 20's here. Never see a police officer. Do it day in, day out. No problem at all. This is the perfect place to smuggle drugs, weapons, terrorists, whatever. And so, not saying that was going on. I'm just saying, that just gives you an idea of how perfect it is, And so then that's the reason I was telling the FBI that in 2012. Okay. Interestingly, the ex-wife had told me one day in a bragging manner, she says, "My dad is a king," as in kingpin for organized crime. I quickly replied back, "I can one-up you on that one." She laughed and she said, "Oh yeah? How's that?" And I said, "Yeah, my father's King of Kings." Okay. And of course I was referencing scripture, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. And this is just one scripture where it mentions King of Kings, for at the right time Christ will be revealed from heaven by the blessed and only Almighty God, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Okay. And First Timothy there. And so that was a reference there telling you that story, she had told me that, that her dad was involved in organized crime. I've wondered, if he had an involvement in the underground homes and this home being rigged and all the other crimes. Okay, so I told her that I wanted a divorce from our 3-month marriage after the police were called here on December 20th, 2011. Okay. That night, the night when I was placed in the back of a police car with a baggie of marijuana and warned by the police to not call them again. On that night, she told me, "We're creating a document trail on you." And 5 weeks later, I was crawling out of my home on my hands and knees after being shot from point blank range by surprise inside my own home. It looks like some corrupt police were creating this document trail to cover up my planned murder. Okay. And so this is the police report from the night. Of course, nobody records every single conversation, but it should be clear now that my word is rock solid. I'm the guy that saved up, disability money while living under the threat of death to identify secret police, right? I mean, this story's crazy, but over and over and over again, it's been proven that my word is good. Okay. And so on this night, December 20th, 2011, about 5 weeks before I'm ambushed and shot in a premeditated home invasion, capital attempted murder, she called the police to that night. And this video isn't about that, but I'd come home, and of course I'm having daily break-ins to my home, and I couldn't find my gun, and that concerned me. And she called the police, and so these police officers come over here. I tried to show them on my phone these text messages from her to show you how crazy what's been going on here, and that cop knocked out the cell phone out of my hand, handcuffs me by surprise inside my own home, takes me down the street and puts me into the back of his police car, and there's a baggie of marijuana laying inside the car. Okay, these are the officers, Blake Bush and Trent Sellers. Okay, and so the threat of being framed, right, it was very clear. I mean, it was super clear. And then when we're in the car, one of them tells me, "We better not be called over here again for this stuff." And this stuff was my repeated calls for burglaries to my home that I believe were connected to a human trafficking, sex trafficking ring. And so that was the reason that 5 weeks later, when burglar alarms were going off and I was then shot, I didn't call the police, because I had been threatened by these police officers right here when they, threatened with that they were going to frame me for drugs, destroy my life, and then you can see this lie here, and extremely 1096. Okay, and so that's what's been going on with all these homes here, where there are people reporting people in the attic, is that they destroy the life of the crime victim that's reporting the crimes, the good citizens that's reporting crimes, the actual victims. They destroy their lives with lies, and they call them crazy. Okay, it's happened over and over again. That's the modus operandi to get to cover up this massive racketeering or organized crime that's going on with this significant police corruption, and you can see that's what happened there. The other part of this police report, this is dated from the night that I was shot. That was 5 weeks later after when this police call, and they put this X reference there to a gun call, whatever, and there was three of them done within 22 seconds. Okay, and I have a video called 22 seconds about that. I believe it was done by Matt or Matthew. Let's see, what's his name? Davis, by Matt Davis. Is that right? Yeah, Matthew Davis. And Sergeant Matthew Davis. I believe he's the one that did it. And because it was done, 3 of them in 22 seconds, I'm suspecting it was pre-planned. It was, just like this document trail. We're creating a document trail on you. So it's looking like that they were creating a document trail on me before, 5 weeks before I was ambushed, shot with my phone lines cut. They were creating a document trail to cover up my murder. I mean, I think that's pretty easy to see, especially with the level of corruption here. These are not good police officers. These are not the police officers that we hold up in high esteem, and we praise them. These are the bad ones. They're the enemy of the public and the friends of killers and criminals. Okay. And since they were creating a document trail on me, then I feel sure they did the same thing to Mike Lawhon. When I first looked at this home with my realtor, Janine Pruitt, she told me that Mike was incarcerated for drugs. For this reason, him dying by overdose wasn't a surprise. But what if they had framed him with drugs to create a document trail with plans on killing him? Okay, and you see where I'm going. That it's here they are planning pre-planning my murder with creating a fake document trail, corrupt police work. Well, then it makes sense they did the same thing to Mike Lawhon, the guy that died, before I moved in here, the previous owner of this home, And then I want to show you, here's on his death certificate, acute propoxyphene intoxication. What that is Darvocet. Okay, so that's a weird thing to overdose on, I think, anyway, is Darvocet. And of course, I was already told that there's a group of doctors killing people for profit. That's kind of interesting. Maybe they know something about people dying by Darvocet, But the other things here, it shows he died in Fort Worth. And this video is not about that. But you can see here that Odessa American on the 18th posted their second death notice and said he died at his residence. The first one they posted said he died in Fort Worth. Then they changed it to say he died at his residence. And that matches what the neighbor told me, is that Mike died at this house. She told me that 2 different times, But anyway, I was showing you, this is the medical examiner case record, Mike Lawhon. The whole point of this is, I didn't think anything about him dying of an overdose, okay, because of the document trail. Because, he was incarcerated for drugs. Well, what if, they stuck him into the back of a police car, had a baggie of pot, and they arrested him, and then 5 weeks later they murdered him, and nobody's going to think any different because he was arrested for drugs. You see where I'm going with that? That's the problem with corrupt police. They can kill you and get away with it. I was told that. Buddy, police can kill you and get away with it. You need to sell your home. That's what he said. Sell your home. Right? Ain't that weird? If you don't sell your property, the police will murder you. That's what he was telling me. After I crawled out, I drove to the 7-Eleven, and Detective Rosie Rodriguez climbed in my truck with me. I was excited and thinking that finally the police were going to stop these crimes against me, but what I didn't know is that Rosie was lifelong friends with the ex-wife, who would later be caught tampering with evidence, lying on the police reports, and perjuring herself in court. She claims that she wasn't even there at the 7-Eleven with me, and April Chandler made up lies to support her. That was Officer April Chandler. And the picture I put in here was one of the secret police pictures, the bedroom camera, security camera pictures. They had tried to disable this camera. It was about the time I was in surgery, okay? And in this particular picture, you can tell by the timestamps, it looks like that Rosie Rodriguez and April Chandler waited till the other police left the room. And you can see Rosie leaned over my nightstand. That's where my cell phone was planted. I found it planted when I returned from the hospital 10 days after being shot. It was stolen. My cell phone was stolen right before I was ambushed and shot. I was supposed to bleed out and die because I didn't have communications. They cut my phone lines and stole my cell phone. Well, and then, of course, Rosie, here she is, Rosie and April, they're planting my stolen cell phone after I survived the murder attempt. And I seen on the police reports that Rosie Rodriguez wrote this, but he said his phone was not charged. And when I read that, I was like, no, I didn't. I didn't say that. Besides that, I had the cordless phone, and it was set on the charger all the time. It was fully charged, And she made up that lie. And what she was doing was she knew that they had stolen my cell phone and cut my phone lines before shooting me, and she was trying to excuse it. So she was excuse making. And that's why she made up this lie and wrote that. But Buddy did not say his phone was not charged. And I do this whole story to show you here. Rosie Rodriguez, come to find out, was lifelong friends with the ex-wife that's alleged to be involved in the shooting. Okay, and then also, after miraculously surviving and making it to the hospital, my ER doctor just happened to be the brother-in-law of the ex-wife that she never told me about was a doctor, and she never told me there was a doctor in the family. The ex-wife did tell me the secret is a group of doctors are killing people for profit. This was the night when it's proven that they faked my x-rays at the hospital that night with that brother-in-law there, okay? Talking about ganged up on, okay? Because that's what I'm saying here. this here is on December 18, 2013. This is a protective order hearing that she had filed on me 22 months after I'd survived the murder attempt. She lived 100 miles away, lived in Lubbock. I hadn't seen her, talked to her in a year and a half, and there was 2 emails sent, non-threatening emails, and she files this absurd protective order. Protective orders are not meant to protect against somebody you don't see or talk to, you know what I mean, and that lives in a town 100 miles away. You know, that's how absurd this whole thing was. And of course, it resulted in me getting a lifetime protective order. It was to smear my name and to cover up the capital attempted murder on my life and the other, you know, the murder of the last homeowner, the murder of the little girl, and all the other homes that were rigged. That's what this was meant. It was a mockery of justice. But this is the transcript from that hearing. Now keep in mind, I wasn't charged with a crime because I didn't commit a crime, and you know, and so there was no jury, there's no due process of law, none of that, you know, and but here's the testimony here. She said the secret is a group of doctors are killing people for profit, you know. Well, what she never told me the entire time we was married, that her brother-in-law was a doctor, and come to find out he was my doctor on the night that I'm shot, and that's the night that they faked the x-rays. Okay. So what I'm showing you here, here's the father-in-law, she tells me, that's involved in organized crime. Okay, and her lifelong friend from elementary school is Detective Rosa Rodriguez, right? She's alleged to be involved in the shooting of the ex-wife is. And then her brother-in-law is a doctor at the hospital. I mean, you know, I'm seriously ganged up on that. I mean, they had all the bases covered, you know. And if I would have died, she's going to get around $650,000. And a lot of that was because her friend Rosie would rule my murder an accident, added extra $500,000. The big prize was the underground homes here, though, and I think they were money makers, probably casino brothels, etc. And here I want to show you. This is a 50,000-foot view. This is a real old picture that I took, and I've created this a long time ago, but I backed way up when I took it. And the reason, because this is Target, this is Home Depot, over here is Midland Drive, okay? And here's my little cul-de-sac, and, you know, here's my home where I was ambushed and shot, where Mike Lawhon died, etc., over here, okay? And so these truckers could pull in right here and see how it comes in here and jigs back in there. So from Midland Drive, when you look down, you can't see back there. That's a totally secluded truck unloading lane, right? And it's believed that there's tunnels here that goes over to here. And there's an underground, one of the 4 underground $1 million underground homes here. This is the perfect place right here if you're smuggling drugs, weapons, terrorists, humans, etc. I mean, that's what I'm saying. 50, this is a perfect place, you know. Your 18-wheeler can pull in here, they're back in, nobody can see them. Here's the tunnel coming over here. Here's an underground storage facility right here. I mean, it's perfect. And, you know, and of course I show the open manhole. That's where concrete was poured this week right there. Concrete truck was backed up to that right there this week. I got a video on it, the biggest video this week. And then in my front yard, in the neighbor's yard, is a leftover piece of what I call man-sized tunnel pipe, you know, and that's what I've long suspected. There was man-sized tunnel pipe went over here the back of Home Depot. They looked like they're running a 24/7 sex trafficking business out there, like a kind of like a truck stop, lot lizards at 7. It was going on 24/7. These trucks pulling up. I think the people in the attic were going down meeting them. They were doing prostitution tricks and then coming back, and so they were. This is a money making operation, you know, and so. The other thing I want to show you here, this is interesting. A Grande communication tech, that's my cable internet, come by and he told me that his girlfriend's parents bought a home at 2900 Pali Verte in Odessa. And he said there used to be a secret casino and brothel under that home, but they had filled it in with concrete. See, that's what I've wondered if is going on here, you know, a secret casino, illegal casino and brothel underground in the $4 million 3-bedroom underground homes where they're having the oil show parties. I posted this on my Facebook, and a guy told me that it was still there, okay? He said it wasn't filled in with concrete. I'd wondered if the underground homes here was the same thing, an illegal casino and brothel. That would be a moneymaker. Come to find out, the previous owner of that home was a close friend of the ex-wife's dad, the one that was alleged to be involved in organized crime. And this guy was a banker. Okay, so I posted, this was right from my Facebook here. The Ector County appraisal record shows the home is owned by Josh and Abigail Bishop, used to be owned by Jack and Sherry Wood. Okay. In July 2014, Jack Wood, former president, chief executive officer of Western National Bank, was elected to the Cullen Frost Bankers Board of Directors. So now all the Western banks are Frost. In this area, you see Frost Bank was to the Jack Wood family. Interestingly, I saw that Jack Wood was a close friend of the late father-in-law. Had separated from his daughter the month before I was shot. His other close friend owned Capital Bank here in Midland, I believe, And so this is a picture of the home that the Grundy Tech gave me the address and said, and he actually said there was a tunnel going from there to another home over there in that area, And then at the Ector County Appraisal District, you can go up there, and I looked up the deed history on it, and you can see the names, Bishop and Wood. But then this Louis Sanchez says they did not fill it in with concrete. They use it. It's still there in secret, And so I just want to show you that. And I'll tell you one other story that came out in the transcript of this court case. I have it. I just didn't attach it here to the bottom. But during the testimony, one of the things that I was testifying to, is me talking, is a conversation between me and the ex-wife, and I said, I want to know who the pimps, the tricks, and the drug dealers are, and she said, it's a family business, and so I think y'all find that interesting there. Here, y'all can look that up on Devil's River. Talk to you later. Bye bye.